Hi YouTube, it's Diane. I am going to do an update of some FFOs I just finished up. So here's the first one. This is from Stony Creek Magazine, spring 2011. It is called Graduation Goals, and it is stitched on 30 count Peoria Purple Weeks Dye Works linen. All the other fibers are exactly as were designed. This is for my oldest daughter. She graduated our homeschool in 2011, and I started it then, but because of a variety of things that happened around that time, I wasn't able to finish it, so I finished it now because she's right on the cusp of receiving her degree, her Bachelor's of Science degree. So I changed the wording, so it has her full name. Instead of 4 lines, it has her full name, homeschool 2011, and Bachelor of Science in the year. And then the frame is an 11 by 14 inch frame, open back. It is from Michael's. I found it in their clearance section for $10, and I had an additional discount that day, so it was a really good price, and it was in really good condition. The mat was custom cut, and the color of the mat is roughly DMC 598, which is the blue here around the letters. I liked this pattern because it wasn't the typical graduation thing. Some of them get a little cheesy, but this says, grow in God's grace, reach for the stars, aim to achieve, define your destination, unearth the world around you, appreciate family and friends, treasure the good times, embrace your future with hope and joy. And believe and dream, and then down here it says yay, and over here it says go for it. The fiber on the graduate in the center is a Threadworks. It's called Coffee. It might be Coffee and Cream. But everything else is DMC. And I did use a different bead. It called for stars in the original pattern, but I used these hearts, and they have kind of a outline of the heart in them. They're kind of a pewter silverish color, which my daughter loves that kind of jewelry, and this blue is one of her favorite colors. So it turned out really well. This was also my first finish for 2015, and now it's complete. Well, I have to put the brown paper on that Organic Granny says, covers all evils. I do have to put that on, and some wire, but everything else is done. So she can hang this in her apartment. My second finish of 2015 is this one, 9 color lantern core. The shop I got this from was on Etsy, and it's called Amazing Cross Stitch. I really like their store. Their patterns are very easy to read. Very nice symbols and everything. There, now you can see a little better. The frame I bought at Hobby Lobby, and it's kind of a shadow box type of frame, meaning that you have the frame and there's a groove for the glass and then the frame. So I didn't have to worry about spacers when I put the piece in. It's stitched on navy Ada. I think it's 14 count. It could be 18 count. But we have the black lantern of death, red of rage, orange of avarice, yellow of fear, green of willpower, blue of hope, purple of compassion or violet of compassion, pink of love, and white of life. And yes, this is Hal Jordan, Hal Jordan, Hal Jordan, because in the storyline he was all 3 lanterns at various points. If you look at it, it looks like it's crooked. But it's an optical illusion, because I put it in here, pinned it all, and it looked crooked. So I took all the pins out, pinned it again, it looked crooked again, and then I measured. I measured all along here, and every time the measurement was right on, up here, side to side. I think that because this is light and this is dark, it appears that it's crooked. But I've counted the squares, I measured, it is on. Right where it needs to be. So it's an optical illusion. Pesky thing. This is going in my younger boy's bedroom, and I really don't know how I got a mat in here because of how the frame is designed, but it works, and the frame actually had hangers already attached to it, so I didn't even have to worry about that. That was nice. Same thing with the graduation goals. There were hangers on the back some kind of those little rings, so then all I have to do is put a wire between them and it'll be great. Excuse me. So that is that one. That was my second stitch to finish of 2015. So there's my other FFO. This is my third stitched finish of 2015. It is Snow Sampler by Country Cottage Needleworks. And it's stitched on 32 count Picture This Plus Lugana, and the color is gingerbread. And I was worried about the house kind of vanishing into the background because the house is a brown. But Organic Granny suggested that since there's only some outlining here in the bird's legs, that maybe if I outlined the piece, it would look fine. But when I did that, it didn't look right. I don't know exactly what it was, but it didn't look right. So I took it out, and I think it looks fine now. I found this kind of weathered, crackled frame at Hobby Lobby, and I think that this gives it a more antique feel with the gingerbread and the white. And then this is part of the frame, and it pulls out the house and all the brown in this project. I really liked that. If I'd stitch this project again, which, to be honest, it's a very basic project, it's very cute, I could do it, I would add blending filament to the snowman. I don't think that having a number 4 braid on the snowman would be enough coverage, but adding a blending filament to give him a little sparkle, and maybe a little button carrot nose, and the birds, and maybe the snow here would really spice it up. And then this snowflake, you could do this whole snowflake in beads. This one is done in a specialty fiber. There's only one in this project. It's called Baby Spinach. I think it's a Gentle Art sampler thread. I already had it in my stash, so I'm not sure what you do with that, but that would be a way that you could blitz this up a little bit. But I do like the simplicity of this design. It's just so cute and stylish. And this is for me. I had to put the paper on because I had to get spacers, and I went to Michael's, and I'm sorry, I hate the customer service at Michael's, or there is no customer service at Michael's. Would probably be more accurate. The website said that they have spacers that you could put between the glass and the fabric, specifically for needlework projects. And you just have to go to the framing section and ask. Well, apparently they didn't tell any of the employees because they had no clue what I was talking about. So what I found, you see right here between the frame and the glass, the frame and the fabric. There is glass in this one. I used a matchstick. Michael's had them in their section that has all the popsicle sticks and craft. Well, I'm sorry, they call them craft sticks. But they had these little wooden matchbook, or matchsticks is what they called them. There's no little head on them, but I assume that's for when people build buildings with them. And they were the perfect size, so I glued them to the glass. So I had the frame down and then the glass, and then I glued them to the glass. Excuse me, let it completely dry before I put my project in there, and it gives just enough space between the glass and the project that any moisture issues or anything like that I should be able to avoid. When you're putting something like this together, if you have little ones or pets or something, don't assume that the inside of the glass is clean, even though you know you cleaned it 2 minutes before, because they have a way of getting their little fingerprints in there. Yeah. And if you have an animal, they could just sneeze all over it or something. So always double check your glass before you start assembling. And again, I was not able to put the original back on this frame because the foam core or foam board and the fabric took all that space. So I have to put the, sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. So here's what it looks like on the back. I have to put that paper that covers all evils, I think is how or covers all ills, I think is how Organic Granny put it. I have it, I just have to actually put it on. So that's my third stitched project of the year, and it's complete. We have friends who recently adopted a little girl. My husband and I we appreciate people who feel led to adopt and go through that whole process. I was adopted. My dad adopted my brother and I when I was almost 12, so I have an appreciation. I remember all the paperwork and they need that again, and the frustration at times. But they recently adopted a little girl, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to stitch them anything or what we wanted to do. And then the mom posted on Facebook frames that were this color. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. This pattern, this alphabet, is from the supplement from World of Cross Stitching number 229. And I was going to grab it, I forgot to. I think it's called Say It With Flowers. And there's only 2 colors in here. It's all full cross stitch. Some of the parts are 2 strands and some of the parts are 1 strand, but it's all full cross stitch. I wanted to bling it up a little bit, so I thought, well, what if I add a little blending filament? So what I chose to do is, it's charted, so one of the flowers is light and one of the flowers is dark. But in the chart, so light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, and then it would have been dark, light, and I thought that would have looked odd. So I chose to make all of the big flowers dark, meaning I had 2 strands of the pink, and all the little flowers light, meaning I had 1 strand of the pink. The letters are 2 strands of the green, and the centers of the little flowers are 1 strand of the green, and there might be 1 strand of green in this center. But what I chose to do, let me go closer and hopefully you can see it, is on the centers of the flowers where, there it is, where I needed 2 strands of the green, I added a blending filament. I added 008, it's a acrylic. So I had 2 strands of the Madeira floss, green is what they called it, and 1 strand of the 008. And so that's for all of the 2 strands of green that's not a letter. So there, center of this flower, center of this one, and this one, and this one. And the vowels happen to be charted in the same flower. The 1 strand, the lighter flowers, I did 1 strand of the Madeira and 1 strand of the blending filament, and I used 092 or 094. It's acrylic again. And so you could get that little bit of sparkle, just a little sparkle. And it's also here because this was charted for the 1 strand of the pink. And that's what they called it, just Madeira pink. This one, okay, these were all exactly 29 inches tall. Well, this guy was 28. So I added an extra line of stitching here and here to make it 29. And then this guy was like 31. So I thought, that's going to look really odd on Ada. If you have the letters, you have all these all the same, and then this is a different measurement. So I actually removed a line of stitching from the pattern, and I moved this flower down 1. But it's fine because it's exactly where this flower is, or pretty close. So now they're all the exact same height. Because on this Ada cloth, I thought that would just jump out. I followed Tara's video with regard to flat or plaque finishing, I think is what she called it, or flat finishing. I found this tray at Michael's. It was like $4. I looked and looked and looked, and I couldn't really find what I wanted until I saw this. I painted it a metallic green that I found at Michael's in acrylic paint. I think I put 3 or 4 coats on. I didn't put another sealing coat. I think that the paint looks just fine. But then I went to Joann's and I found this fabric, and so I mounted this fabric. I had to get a ½ yard because they don't cut fat quarters, and I needed that 18 inches. So I asked for half a yard, and then I put it on foam core, and I glued it on the back carefully, just really following Tara's video on mounting. And then I put it in here, and when I put it in the tray, I used tacky glue, and then I had a small book that fit between these two pieces, put it there, and then I put reams of copy paper on it to really smush it down, and I let that completely dry. And then I mounted this onto foam core. I did put a piece of warm and natural batting on the foam core and then put my stitching on that, and then I pinned it all around and did all of that. I trimmed it and did all that according to Tara's video, and then I glued that onto this piece of fabric. I was going to take pictures along the process, but I forgot. And then again I put that little book and the reams of paper and let it completely dry. I did wash this before I started it, and I also used the Scotch Guard that Tara talked about. I also used the Scotch Guard on my graduation one over there. I did not realize Scotch Guard had one specifically formulated for needlework, so I was always nervous of using that. But I found the needlework one right at Joann's. It was reasonably priced, so it worked great. And I think Tara mentioned in her video of tipping your tacky glue bottle when you're using it. They actually have a tacky glue bottle now that has the lid in the bottom, so you always store it that way to take advantage of gravity, because that glue is very thick. After this was all dry, then I went back with this trim. I found this trim at Joann's also, and I felt it caught the colors in here really well, and it just added a little bling, so I glued that around really, really carefully. And I even took pins, and I kind of stuck them in this foam core and leaned them against, so they held the trim against the piece until it was dry, and then removed those pins. I wanted to bling this up a little more. I wanted to add some rhinestone thumbtacks and beads, but this is for a little girl, and if you have children, have been around children, you know that they inevitably have to touch everything, and I don't want her taking this off the wall and pulling something off of it and having a choking hazard. So it's very simple and basic, but it turned out really nice, and this fabric really complements this very well. And it's a fabric that's not too babyish, so I think it could grow with her. And since the frames in her room, her mom painted this color somewhere in between these two shades, I think it'll complement what's already in her room. And her mom's a professional photographer, so she's going to have nice pictures in her room. She does a really good job picture-wise. And I'm comfortable showing you the personalization because I haven't told you the last names or the names of her parents or where they live, so she is adorable. I've seen pictures of her, and she's adorable. So that is fully finished project number 4, and I actually stitched it, so it's my stitched project number 4. So I wanted to show these to you real quick because I want to get this one packaged and ready to mail so they can hang it up. Oh, and this tray thing, it came with the hangers. It also had hangers on this end, so you could have hung it this way. But since I'd stitched it this way, I hung it this way. So it was a good find. So I wanted to show a variation of Tara's plaque finish. So if you are looking around and trying to figure out what to hang yours on, try something like a tray like this, or use what you have. Figure out what you have. And the technique works really well. So I do plan on doing a WIP update soon, and my birthday's next week, so I'm going to have a stash update then also, and we will talk to you soon. I did want to mention that in Jessie Does Stuff video, she was talking about some negativity in the YouTube community, and to be honest, I felt it beyond the YouTube community. Just our whole culture is really negative all of a sudden. But she wanted to use Flosstuber to build somebody up, And so she did a shout out to the Stash Queen. If you haven't watched her videos, I encourage you to watch her videos. Kate is really entertaining, and I like her whips and her information she puts out there. So I'm going to do a shout out. I'm going to do a shout out to Latisha Beckett, and I have enjoyed watching her videos. I've watched them all, unless she posted one the last couple days. Other than that, I've watched all of her videos. And she is stitching. One reason I want her videos kind of stuck with me is she is stitching Mirabilia. She's stitching at the Met. I am a big fan of Mirabilia, but to be honest, when that picture came out, I thought it was kind of ugly. I don't know what it was. Probably mostly the fabric it was stitched on. But Latisha is stitching it, and she is changing the skin tones, and it is gorgeous. If you have not seen her at the Met, I strongly encourage you to watch it, because her skin tone changes, it brings that whole design up a notch. And I look forward to seeing that piece finished, and it's inspired me enough. I'm seriously thinking of purchasing that pattern and getting the skin tone changes from Latisha and stitching it with those skin tone colors, because it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. So I wanted to do a shout out to Latisha. You're doing an awesome job. I like all of your projects that you show, and I look forward to your future videos. So I thank you for watching and subscribing, and I will have my whip update and a stash update in the next week, hopefully. So we will talk to you soon. Bye.